So the absolute greatest thing to happen to online writing competitions, in my opinion, ever, has been the invention of Writing Battle. And today we have something hugely special for you. So, the great Max Bjork, welcome to Writing Battle TV. Max, thanks for getting up so early in the morning to be with us today.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm up early anyway, so.
I'll just ask you a couple of questions sort of to get you in the flow of things. I'm going to put on my journalistic glasses here. So you have created Writing Battle from nothing. I just want to know, for a start, you love reading, you love stories, you love writing. What is your favorite word?
This morning it was supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That's what we were trying to get our 4-year-old to say that. So that's my favorite word.
If you can, please, for anyone watching this video who is not, like myself, obsessed with Writing Battle yet, and they don't know anything about it, in 30 seconds or less, what is Writing Battle all about?
Yeah, so Writing Battle is a platform for writers to create a story and put it out there and, see how it does among other stories. So it's a competitive writing platform, and, it might sound kind of scary, but the community is awesome. You get great feedback. Yeah, you can win some money, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, now treat me like I've never been on your website, I've never done anything. If I join Writing Battle, if I join the upcoming Writing Battle, what does that look like for me? What do I do?
Yeah, so there's a start date to the battle. Around 20 minutes before the battle starts, you'll get an email with all the possible genres. So there's always 4 different genres for one of our peer-judged writing battles, which is the winter, spring, summer, and autumn battles. There's always 4 genres. They're always a little bit wacky. They're a lot of fun, but they're kept secret until right before the battle starts. And then as soon as the battle starts, you'll be presented with 3 different writing prompts. So you have genre, there can be character, object, or setting or location. And you have to use those prompts in a short story, and you have to write it in a short amount of time. So it's kind of crunch, you think you have all this time to write, and then, it's usually the last day, you finally get a word down and you try to pump out a short story and submit it to the site. Yeah, so as soon as you submit your story, you're no longer just a writer, you're now a judge. And what you do is you're given 10 different stories over a number of weeks, just 2 at a time. And so you're given 2 stories. It's called a duel. You have to read both stories, give a little bit of feedback to each, and then choose a winner of the 2. And, thousands of other writers are doing this. And you're always judging stories that you're not competing with. So it's in one of the other 3 genres. The genres never intersect. They're just all parallel tournaments. And yeah, that progresses, these 4 different tournaments. And by the end of it, we have a winner. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that in future videos as to the ins and outs of it. But why? So I've tried other writing battles, I've tried other writing competitions before online, and I'm now pretty much only do Writing Battle. In fact, I now exclusively do Writing Battle. I could explain why that's so for me, but why would somebody choose Writing Battle over another online writing competition? What is it that makes Writing Battle special, in your opinion?
So, what really makes it special is the community, which has been built over the last 4 years. But what really separates it from other contests, because this community does a lot of the community does multiple different writing contests, so they're in a number of places. But what makes this contest special, I think, is the platform's fairly easy to use. There's other contests that you need a computer science degree to be able to post your story, for additional feedback, and so that certainly helps. The prize pool's large relative to the other contests and the entry fee. So we keep the entry fee as small as possible. And yeah, so there's that. And I think you just there's no other place that you can get this amount of quality feedback from your peers. And now with the pro judge battles, none of the other contests, I think, have really kind of dived into just how amazing writers are to other writers. Like if you're a writer and people want to pass on what they've learned, and I think that's what Writing Battle kind of does, is it allows writers to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would agree. I could go on and on about it myself, but this this video and this interview is about you. So when did you start Writing Battle? What year was it?
So technically, it was late 2020.
Okay.
So yeah, so it was late 2020, and I had participated in another writing contest. And what I liked about that contest, and I mean, well, I'll just say it because why not? It was NYC Midnight. And what I loved about that contest was the forums after the contest. So the forums where you could post your story and then you get feedback from other writers. And it was just a screenwriting competition. So initially when I started Writing Battle, it was actually Screenwriting Battle is what it was called. So I started it. I didn't launch a contest until February the next year, but I started it. I didn't know anything about web development, and it was initially going to be completely free. And then in order for the contest to run, it would just, if you wanted to redraw your prompts, so if you wanted to change out your prompts, you had to pay money. So you could buy these coins on the site. It was like $1 to change one of your prompts. So, people would spend $0 or $5. And I ended up moving away from that because I found that people either paid $0 or they paid like $30. And it was like, I didn't want this to be a gambling site, and it's funny, a lot of those people are still doing Writing Battle. And I would email them, stop spending money, just keep your prompts, like just start writing. And I was like, this isn't a way to run a business if you're telling people to stop spending money on your site.
I have to say, personally, in my Writing Battle experience, there's been some times where I've drawn prompts and you could retire on what I would have paid you to change out of those prompts. But it all comes out in the end. It all comes out into a very creative story. And I, for one, and lots of other people, like the constraints, the creative constraints that give birth to something even more special than you probably could have come up with had you been given just carte blanche to write a story. So we get these peer judged battles. We're judged by our peers up until the very last, if you're one of the last two, is that right?
The last two of each genre, yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
So there are 2, 4, 6, 8 writers in total who are then judged by professional judges. And you're quite transparent about who the judges are. They're on your site?
Yes. Yeah. And how I got those, so some of them are people like Ken Liu and Shelby Van Pelt.
Shelby Van Pelt, who wrote Remarkably Bright Creatures.
Yeah. So, well, how I got Ken Liu was just cold emailing. So we just cold emailed everyone, basically. And until somebody responded. And like early in Writing Battle, Ken Liu responded, which was amazing. I think he just kind of, even though it was super amateur at the time, I think he just, I think he liked the idea of the peer feedback and how, it was cheap to enter and people would be like, he liked the distributed judging. He has a computer science background and that too. He's a really interesting guy.
So with all of these judges, whether they are fellow writers or whether they are professionals, we all get feedback from them at the end of the battle if you've participated.
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, a big hot topic, which I don't want to get into too much detail about in this video, is AI. In terms of AI writing the stories for the contestants, or indeed AI writing the feedback that they get, whether that feedback comes from a professional or from a fellow writer. And you have things in place, without going into too much detail, you've got things into place that really crack down on that.
Yes, absolutely. So for feedback, we have a number of different layers of how we check for feedback. And I don't want to get too into that, but we don't just check the text, but we do run the text through different AI detectors.
You also look at the feedback, you yourself and your wife, Tiona, who also runs Writing Battle. You check the feedback as human beings to make sure that it's appropriate and not too harsh and not worded in such a way as to be damaging to the other writers. Is that true also?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we have different mechanisms that flag different feedback. So we review it manually. We'll also review manually if it's flagged for AI. But we don't just look at the text. We look at what the person's doing on the website as well. So it's
Wow.
all this metadata that we can analyze. Now, as far as stories, that's a little more complicated. I mean, so one thing is that most authors don't want their stories run through AI checkers because they don't necessarily trust these AI detection companies. Another thing is that I think there's a difference between AI assisted writing, where it's checking for grammar and things like that. So Grammarly, AI is just completely embedded within Grammarly now. A lot of people don't know it. So what will happen is that they'll write something, through Grammarly, and then it'll be flagged by these AI detectors. And I think that's a little bit unfair because people were using, grammar checkers for a long time. And what's the difference between like some sort of, procedural check through a sentence than some, LLM check through a sentence?
Yes.
Now, what's not good is if somebody's pumping out a story where it's like generative, where they're just putting in prompts and is just pumping out a story and they didn't have anything to do with the story. They kind of read it and it's like, this is cool, and it gets dumped on the site. Those suck. I mean, right now, those are awful. They'll never win writing battle. They'll never even come close. And I think it's a losing game trying to find those. Right now, they're terrible, and you can spot them. There's this uncanny valley. It's the same with the feedback, actually, unless it's been heavily edited through AI. The feedback you can just tell. But yeah, with those stories, they're bad. And when I say that, I mean that they'll never win, right? So if people pay money to enter, and this AI story is just like, it's out in the first couple of rounds, I mean, they just wasted money, and shame on them for trying to cheat, I would call it.
Yeah.
Now, there might be a point where that's not the case, and AI can, it can generate, you were talking like a generative process. It can just generate something amazing, and it will win. I mean, that changes everything. And I think Writing Battle is in a position where we might be one of the only contests that can fight that, because it's a completely custom site. If we get to that point, I'm just saying, if we could make it so people have to write on the website, and if people have to write on our website, and we would make it so it's like a cozy place to write, right? Like currently people have to copy and paste from Word or something like that. But if we made everybody write on the site, we can actually use all of that data to analyze people that would be cheating with AI and people that would be writing naturally. And we could develop systems to actually detect that. So I think we might be, if we get to that point, where generative AI is scary and it can just write these amazing stories that, beat the top stories in Writing Battle, which I think is very unlikely. And I think we're years and years and years away from that. But if that happens, we'll like, give me a week, and I'll like, if it's like either Writing Battle is no more, or we fix this problem, I think I can fix the problem.
We'll get into AI in a future video. Just know that if you are joining Writing Battle, that you are in safe hands. There was a recent win on behalf of Max, where they detected this, and it was not only dealt with swiftly and immediately, but it was transparent to those of us who joined the battle, and we really appreciate it. We'll get into that in a separate video. Max, you yourself, do you still write creatively?
I've been so busy with Writing Battle, I haven't. Yeah, and the only thing I read is like I'm reading to my kids
Right.
right now, and I read a lot of like nonfiction.
Okay.
So, but I read a ton on the website. So the only thing I read is Writing Battle stories, but anything on my own time, I don't read. And sadly, I can't even read like for pleasure on Writing Battle anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So during the peer battles, if people don't complete a duel, so if you're a judge in Writing Battle, so this is for people that are new, if you're a judge in Writing Battle and you don't complete your assigned judging, so you don't read the two stories, then one of the admins has to read it. Mostly it's myself and Tiona, my wife, and the other half of Writing Battle that has to read it and give feedback. So I'm reading just a ton of stories every single week, but it's like assigned judging and I'm doing feedback and everything. So yeah.
So I've just decided to randomly draw 3 cards. I know you don't write creatively at the minute. You're too busy with Writing Battle, and I can only imagine. And I personally find it hard to read anything else other than Writing Battle. Now that there's 8 battles a year, I find that I'm just reading other people's stories and feeding back on those in the forums and in the judging when we do peer battles. But if you were to draw the cards of, let's say, the genre, I'll use one of the past genres here, environmental drama, and you had the character of a trickster, and you had the object of lipstick, where would you go with that?
Oh my God. Yeah. So I immediately go to the I think it was in the early 1900s where they were slaughtering whales for lipstick, and yeah, I would immediately go to that, and you would have some sort of the protagonist. I think what would be interesting is the protagonist would be somebody that would be in in that industry, so not against the industry, and then the trickster would be somebody that basically conned this person out of out of some deal with the out of some deal that with the blubber from the whales.
And this is why you are in charge of Writing Battle, because I wouldn't want to compete against that story. You came up with that like that. It takes me, so the prompts usually drop at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm in the UK, so for me it's 3 in the morning. I usually wake up at some point at 3 in the morning or around then anyway, just to use the bathroom. I then check my phone, see my prompts, and go back to sleep, and hopefully wake up with something, but not always. So the fact that you came up with that right away, that's why you're the man in charge. Max, it has been an absolute pleasure. If people want to join Writing Battle in any of the upcoming battles, whether they're peer judged or not, there's 4 a year that are also professionally judged, as we said before. Go to writingbattle.com. We'll put all the links down below. Max, thank you so much for your time today. I know you're a busy, busy man. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. Cheers.
And if you want to talk more about the use of AI in online writing competitions, watch this video next.